all of your forwarding and freight shipping needs. We at Trin Forwarding International are committed to product delivery. At Trin Forwarding, we have the much needed experience, professionalism, and due diligence in freight forwarding, shipping, and cargoes. We deliver with timeliness and precision. You can reach out to us at our Caribbean office in Trinidad and Tobago, telephone number 868-624-6250, or our Florida USA office at 305-887-9725.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Interfaith Views and Issues on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. We are very fortunate to have with us on today's show three very prominent leaders here in South Florida, prominent interfaith leaders. We have Dr. Grace, who is an interfaith minister, and she's also the pastor slash spiritual leader of Darshan Center for Spiritual Evolution. We also got our good friend here, Reverend Dr. Keith Spencer, who is the pastor of the Trinity Lutheran Church, and Rabbi Barry Silver, who is an attorney at law, and he's also the rabbi at Congregation Ladar Vadar. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Alhikmat Services Florida USA invites you to join our tour from Miami to Turkey to Medina and Mecca, plus Umrah Ramadan, which is equivalent to the blessings of Hajj. They will be visiting historical sites of the Ottoman Empire, plus the Blue Mosque, Hagia Sophia, Topkapi Palace, plus more sacred sites. Breakfast and dinner will be included, but not the cost of visas. It will be from March 2nd, 2024 to March 13th, 2024, and led by Shaikh Shafayat. The price is yet to be announced, but for more information, you can contact Alhikmat office at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158. You can also email at alhikmat@alhikmat.com. Alhamdulillah, for free copies of the Holy Quran, contact Alhikmat Caribbean office at 1-868-325-8276. You can also follow us on Alhikmat TV, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc. For more information, you can also contact Alhikmat's Florida USA office. You can visit our website at www.alhikmat.com or call us at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158.
Allah, ya Allah, ya Allah, His throne extends over the heaven.
It's savings and big discounts when you shop at Fens nationwide. Upgrade your home or treat yourself to something special. Enjoy store-wide savings on furniture, appliances, electronics, bedroom, and so much more when you shop at Fens of Marbella, Chagonas, Pinal, and Piaco. Visit us in store for more information or call 650-FENS, that's 650-3367, or check us out on Facebook, Fens of Trinidad and Tobago, serving generations.
It's really a pleasure. It's a blessing to have all of you here. I know the world is not as it should be in today's time, with the crisis in the Middle East and what's happening, and the war in Ukraine and all the different uneasiness that is taking place throughout the world. I have always held the opinion that if politicians will consult religious leaders in decision making for their countries and the world, we may have a more peaceful world. So it's nice to hear you. It is a pleasure for viewers worldwide. And just to let you know, we have viewers worldwide. You know what social media is nowadays. The entire world see and hear what we see, and we can never tell where in the world who can be seen and who can be listening. That's one of the God-gifted gifts that we have of social media. So before I get down into everyone's bio and who you are and where you're from, seeing that we know ladies first, I would like to start with Dr. Grace and ask Dr. Grace to do a brief introduction of yourself, hearing it from you, will be much better to the audience. So tell our audience a little bit about you and what you do. I know you teach criminology at Nova University. You're a superintendent, police superintendent, right? Or maybe you share that with our viewers. Oh, another point I wanted to mention, I will cut in here and there to make this a very conversational discussion, not monotonous and get bored, etc. Very conversational, very relaxing, very interacting, so our viewers can sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. Yes, Dr. Grace.
Assalamu alaikum and
Walaikum
namaste. My name is Dr. Grace Telesco, Reverend Dr. Grace Telesco, and yes, I teach at Nova Southeastern University, associate professor in the School of Criminal Justice, and I spent 20 years in the NYPD and retired at the rank of lieutenant, worked at Ground Zero with the thousands of families, assisting the families after the attack on the World Trade Center. I retired in 2003, and my two things that I do right now is teaching full-time, and also, as you mentioned earlier, spiritual leader at Darshan Center for Spiritual Evolution. It is an interfaith ministry where we embrace all of the delicious food that Allah, that God has provided for all of his children. And some people like a little bit of Italian food, some like Chinese food, some like Middle Eastern food, whatever your taste is. That's the beauty of interfaith. If you really understand the difference between multi-faith and interfaith, interfaith is the embracing of the beautiful nourishment that God has provided for us through all the various religions.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Pastor Keith Spencer, would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. I'm the Reverend Dr. Keith Spencer. I've been pastor here at Trinity Lutheran Church in South Florida since August of 2000. Prior to that, I served in the United States Navy, left after 8 years as a lieutenant, and in the Navy I served on ships and on an admiral staff on the island of Guam. Here at Trinity, we've been deeply involved in works of community justice and interfaith issues of concern. We've been blessed to have Rabbi Silver speak in our parish, as well as yourself, and it's a pleasure to be here and continue these wonderful interfaith dialogues where we find common ground and wrestle with the issues that people face 24/7 on their TV screens and on their internet. So it's good to be here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keith Spencer. And Rabbi, you're a man with an interesting background also. We're very blessed to have people like you. You're not only interfaith. Dr. Spencer served in the Navy, Dr. Grace as a superintendent for 20 years, NYPD, and you yourself, Rabbi, I know you're a former Florida state representative. So we have people with some legal background here in addition to your interfaith background. So share your background with us.
Well, it's great to be here. I'm the only one, I guess, without a military background, along with you, Shaikh Shafayat. It's wonderful to be here. I'm a rabbi and an attorney and a former legislator and a singer-songwriter. I'm known as a rabbi rouser. I'm a rabbi and an activist. I believe that if we're just talking about things and not doing anything, then we're really not very effective at all. And so I believe that religion should inspire us to act. I also am a singer-songwriter. I sing in a baritone, but I am good friends with Shaikh Shafayat, so I'm not going to subject you to my singing today. Although I did write a song in Shaikh Shafayat's honor, which I really enjoyed singing. I did serve in the legislature. I invited my dad to do a prayer for the invocation, and they said, "Rabbi, you're going to say a prayer for the legislature?" And he said, well, I've seen what you guys have been doing. I thought it would be more appropriate to say a prayer for the people of Florida. And when we see what our government is doing, I agree with you, Shaikh Shafayat, we do have reason to be concerned. Although I'm not so sure that adding religion to the mix is necessarily a prescription for a cure. It didn't turn out too well during the Inquisition, the Crusades, the pogroms, and the Holocaust. So it depends what type of religion you're talking about. I also just want to share with you that before I even looked up or asked, what does alhikmat mean? I already knew, because hikmat is related to the Hebrew word chachma, which means wisdom. And it's one of the indications of how close Judaism and Islam is. Hebrew and Arabic are, and they both mean wisdom. And Shaikh Shafayat, you are a great source, not only of wisdom, but of peace and love and harmony. It's a pleasure to be here. And I do have a good memory of how you were so kind and loving towards my parents, who loved you dearly years ago. And I still do cherish our friendship, our love, and your inspiration. It's a pleasure to be here with members of the Abrahamic faiths. Even though Abraham, most people don't know, wasn't kosher, he couldn't have been because he has the word ham in his name. How kosher could he be? But it's a great pleasure to be here with all of you.
Interesting. And I know you're a man of great humor. I mean, that's why you're a lawyer, right? You have those perks on your side.
I am a barrister. My name is Barry, and I'm a barrister. Yes, that is
true. So
true.
you lived up to the name Barry. It's short for barista. Anyhow, so Dr. Keith Spencer, Dr. Grace, Rabbi Silva, I want to leave the floor open here. I don't want it to sound too monotonous. We have a conversation because, I think by now everyone throughout the world, they know what's going on in the Middle East. We, of course, and I want to make this very clear before we start so we don't have to have any misunderstanding, that no one supports terrorism, no one supports extremism, whichever side it may be, whether it be of any faith, any religion, any people. And we all look for peace, and we look for, unity and harmony. So my point is, what do you all suggest? What do you think? How do you think we can attain peace in what's going on presently in Palestine and Israel with the war? Because that's the topic of the day on the media nowadays. And we hear so many different perspectives from journalists and from politicians. But it's nice to hear people like you who know the law, been part of the law, been in that area. What do you suggest? Maybe we start with you, Dr. Keith Spencer. What do you think? Let's think aloud. The people out there, they want to hear people like you. You're not only religious leaders, but you have legal background and experience. So what do you suggest? What do you think? I think that might bring some calm in the hearts of people.
Well, I don't have a legal background, but that I'll leave that for.
No, but the mere fact that you served in the Navy, you have a good experience, an idea of what goes on in that side of the world.
And I think part of serving in the Navy and traveling with the Navy to so many different places is that you begin to understand and see the implications of power being exerted over people and the suffering that it causes. I mean, as a Lutheran Christian, our presiding bishop, who's the bishop of all the evangelical Lutherans here in the United States, reminded us just the other day that you have to call a thing a thing. I think part of the journey towards seeking solution is the confession that power has been exerted against Palestinian Muslims and Christians through the occupation, the expansion of settlements, and the escalating violence, and that the suffering of the Palestinian people has to be called out as a root cause of what we're witnessing. The extremism, as you pointed out rightly, Shaikh Shafayat, always has to be condemned, but we can't separate what happens when a people have been put under such degrees of suffering and of continuous lack of basic resources, as the Palestinian people have for so long, that and their story honestly is not the story that many of us, at least here in this country, hear. And I think we have to be honest about the negative impacts of the occupations on these people, and that there has to be some sense of dignity, of basic human rights, and acknowledge of that history.
Okay, well said. That's well said. Well said. So I will come to you after, Rabbi. I know you have some peace proposal, but you know what? I think we'll have to talk about that after the short break. But let's get a little bit pieces here and there from both of you before we go on a short break. Let's hear you, Dr. Grace.
So I just love what you just now said, Keith. Really, what courage to say that. That is the truth. However, I would like to quote Father Gregory Boyle. He's one of my mentors. He's a Jesuit priest, and it's a very short quote, and it sums up how I feel about this. He starts by saying, "No daylight to separate us, only kinship." This is this oneness, this unity, inching ourselves closer to creating a community of kinship such that God might recognize it. And soon we imagine with God this circle of compassion, and we imagine no one standing outside of the circle, moving ourselves closer to the margins so that the margins are erased. And then we stand there with those whose dignity has been denied, as you've mentioned, this occupation. We locate ourselves with the poor, the powerless, and the voiceless, the disenfranchised, the marginalized. And at those edges, we join the easily despised and readily left out. And we stand with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop. And we situate ourselves right next to the disposable so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away. And each time I'm reading in the news, and that's the end quote, and that's Gregory Boyle again from Tattoos on the Heart, The Power of Boundless Compassion. In theory, I love this, and in theory, I believe this, and this is my belief system, that we are one, and that we are not separate from one another, and there's no this and that, my land, your land. None of that exists at the cellular level. At the cellular level, we have lots of differences. And I shared this with Shaikh Shafayat the other day when I called him, looking. I look to Shaikh Shafayat as a spiritual mentor as well, and I love him for that. And he's always so gracious and giving me comfort and support. And because I've been so much in angst over all of this, 75% of my DNA is Italian and the other 25% is Lebanese. And I wonder why I'm so viscerally upset by folks in a hospital that now there's no contact in Gaza, no contact with the hospital, and these folks can't even be evacuated. And I understand Hamas and what Hamas is doing, and that is neither here nor there. It is here and there, but not to the point of what Father Boyle is saying, where we can hold on to our identities so firmly, but these identities are not what God has created, is what we have created. And at the cellular level, we are one. And this is what the prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, and the prophet Muhammad were talking about, in my opinion and in my interpretation, that we are one and that there is no separation. Now, all of that is, fine here at the head level. And even at the heart level, I believe this. But at the practical level, how do we apply it when people are being killed? 10,000 Palestinians have died. And it's not clear, how many of them are involved in Hamas, but we also understand why. There's a trauma of an entire group of people acting out in rage. It's very similar to what we saw in 2020 with, the summer of all of the riots. You say, why are people violent? Violently rage-filled because of frustration and no one's listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Grace. I always
I
admire the fact that you are a very spiritual person. I know that. I mean, teaching criminology and justice and being an NYPD superintendent, and you are very spiritual, very spiritual. I know you love a lot of Sufism and mysticism and spirituality, which, it's interesting to know with your background and to connect to spirituality. That's very deep, and it's really a pleasure to have you with us on today's show to hear your side and to make your contribution. So Rabbi, as I said, I know when we come back we'll get into your proposal, but tell us in 2 minutes a little bit, what do you think on what we should do to get peace and what's going on there in the Middle East?
Israel is the only country in which Palestinians actually have civil rights. It's the only country where Muslims are free to pray as they choose and where their holy places are respected, regardless of what sect of Islam they might belong to. It's the only place where Palestinians are not run by a terrorist thug group and actually have women's rights respected and where women have equal rights. It's the only place where Palestinians are able to vote and practice a democracy. In Gaza, when Israel gave Gaza back to the Palestinians to give them self-rule, there's no occupation in Gaza. Gaza is free to rule themselves. And what they did in 2005, they destroyed the greenhouses that Israel gave to them to provide food for their people and turned them into warehouses and storage facilities for weapons. And they allowed themselves to be governed by a terrorist organization in the only election they had since 2005, which was in 2006, in which opponents of Hamas were thrown off of buildings. They've been run by a terrorist group that has no regard for their civil rights, where elections are not free, and where the Hamas places their central command below hospitals, launches vicious, violent, grotesque, gruesome, grisly attacks against Israel and its citizens, and then hides underneath hospitals and says, come and get me. And Israel has to take great pains to evacuate people and to get people out of harm's way to try to root out terrorism, because it's impossible to live in peace among terrorists. Just like if your body has cancer, you have to try to get rid of the cancer in order to have a healthy body, distasteful as it is. I'll stop there, Shaikh Shafayat, because I don't want to occupy all of your time.
Well, I suppose that's why we have a diversity here and we get everyone.
What you do is great. I just want to tell you, Shaikh Shafayat, what you do is great, because rarely have I seen the opportunity for people with different views to be able to exchange them amicably. And I thank you very much for the opportunity. What you're doing is a great service, which I see very, very rarely in the world today.
And that's why I thought that this would be very educational. I mean, everyone will not necessarily agree with us and agree with our opinions and our perspective of things, but at least this is why we can come as Interfaith and discuss the present situation. And I want us to concentrate more on, how we can go into peace. We know everyone acknowledge their terrorism and their extremists and in different parts of the world and those who are involved in it. here. But it's an interesting thing to know that the present situation with so many people that are dying in Palestine and Gaza, to be specific right now, we want to concentrate how could we solve the problem. We can go into years of history and why and when and how, and it will never end. As someone said very intellectually, we can go back into the history of America and talk about what happened to the native Indians and who took away what from where and what went on. But we're looking for peace presently, love, harmony, solve the problem. Everyone is uneasy all over the world. So when we come back, I know we were supposed to go on a break at 15 minutes, but it was very interesting. So I'm glad our viewers would have got a good perspective and an opening from every one of you. And so they would have that idea of where we're coming from and what we intend to discuss. So when we come back after the short break, we will continue this conversation on how we should recommend and what we should do or what we can say to get peace in the Middle East, to end this war, end this crisis, and everyone live a happy life in a happy world. So stay tuned to our viewers. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with Rabbi Barry Silver, Dr. Keith Spencer, and Dr. Grace Telesco, inshallah, God willing.
South Florida Umrah, November 23rd to December 3rd, 2023, led by Shaikh Shafayat, Imam Azhar Subidar, and Imam Zaid Sharif. 2 persons per room cost $29.95, 3 persons per room cost $28.50, and 4 persons per room are $26.96. Flights are Miami to Medina and Jeddah to Miami. Accommodations are Medina 4 nights and Mecca 4 nights. Spots are limited, so it is on a first-come, first-served basis. For details and to register, please visit www.meaningfulhajj.com/SoFloUmrah. For more information, please contact Alhikmat office at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158. Dawah and Interfaith Institute presents for the first time in U.S.A. Dawah and Interfaith training with education in world religions from religious professors and spiritual leaders of different faiths. This is a 6-month weekend course designed for brothers and sisters local, national, and international who are seeking to learn the importance of Dawah and better understanding of faith and cultures. For more information, please contact 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158. You can also contact via email at alhikmat@alhikmat.com or visit our website www.alhikmat.com. Alhikmat Services Florida USA invites you to join our tour from Miami to Turkey to Medina and Mecca, plus Ramadan, which is equivalent to the blessings of Hajj. They will be visiting historical sites of the Ottoman Empire, plus the Blue Mosque, Hagia Sophia, Topkapi Palace, plus more sacred sites. Breakfast and dinner will be included, but not the cost of visas. It will be from March 2nd, 2024 to March 13th, 2024, and led by Shaikh Shafayat. The price is yet to be announced, but for more information, you can contact Alhikmat office at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158. You can also email at alhikmat@alhikmat.com. Alhamdulillah, for free copies of the Holy Quran, contact Alhikmat Caribbean office at 1-868-325-8276. You can also follow us on Alhikmat TV, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc. For more information, you can also contact Alhikmat's Florida USA office. You can visit our website at www.alhikmat.com or call us at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158.
Allah, ya Allah, ya Allah, His throne extends over the heavens.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 67, Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhar Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, wa illam taf'al, fama balagta risalatahu. Very deep. Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to spread the message of the Quran. And he told the Prophet, and if you do not spread the message, you did not fulfill the mission of the messenger. So you and I are followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we can afford one Quran, help us join in distributing the Quran. So if you can't afford one Quran, do it. $3. 10 Quran, $30. 100 Quran, $300. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Interfaith Views and Issues on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Once more, it is a pleasure to have with us in today's show Rabbi Barry Silver, Dr. Keith Spencer, and Dr. Grace Telesco. Welcome back to the show. So, good, nice to have you all. I know this is a very, 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 very interesting, delicate, sensitive topic. Every side of the channel and the news, when we look at it on the media, everyone has their own verdict and their own perspective. But as religious leaders, we're accustomed to a congregation that not everyone agree with us all the time, right? Not everyone agree with us all the time. But we just got to say what is best, what is more beneficial for the people and for the world. So who would like to start? We want to start with you, Dr. Grace, Dr. Keith. You want to start back on what you suggested. What are some recommendations? Let me tell you what I have been thinking so you'll have an idea. I kept on saying that I think that world leaders, countries, all the countries, Muslims, Jews, Christians, wherever you have governments and leaders, they should all come together and study this thing properly and make proposals to get Palestine to have their own independence, their freedom and independent state. And if they have that, and I think they may be able to have some peace, and there should be no terrorism. They need to make sure radical groups don't get involved and misrepresent either side, whether it's Israel or the Palestinian side. No, we don't need to have those kind of things that will upset the peace and everyone live in a peaceful world. That's my idea. But I think it can only happen if political leaders, countries come together and make that proposal there. That might create some effect. And, they might be the same people who will come forth and help build and support, etc. So what do you say about that, Keith, Pastor Keith, Dr. Keith Spencer?
I think that the two-state solution is way long in coming. So I agree with you, Shaikh Shafayat, that it's until such a solution comes into reality that we're going to continue to see escalating violence, for sure.
The point I was getting at is that if these international leaders, and I mean all the countries in the world, if they can come together, and be like a middle path between Israel and Palestine, to make sure no one jumps the gun and go beyond the whole peace treaty, that might help some way to bring some sort of peace and coordination. Dr. Grace?
I think that we right here, the four of us, it's a microcosm of what's happening, right? So everyone digs their heels in and has their own set of facts that they totally believe, and it's for us to learn how to really see each other and to really know each other again at the soul level. We all know whether we're Christian, whether we're Jewish, whether we're Muslim, whether we're Hindu, Buddhist, all of these different religions have the same thing in common, and that is that this body, this mind, this limited personality is going to end. It's going to end. It has an expiration date. But what does not have an expiration date is the soul. The Christians call it soul. Shekhinah, right? This essence within us, this spirit made up of the same ingredients as God, as our creator. If we can know that and understand that, then we would not be digging our heels in and fighting with each other. Here there's no bullets flying, there's no missiles, there's no rockets, but it's still hurtful because someone doesn't agree with what we're saying. Doesn't mean that we can, we do that with each other. We do that in our homes. We do that with our families. We dig our heels in. My story, I'm right, you're not. And if we can't see that we are one together, all of us, and that we share something in common, which is the soul, and our own soul's evolution, we're going to continue to be bogged down with the story and our own set of facts and perceptions. And that's not the road to peace, in my humble opinion.
Yes, wonderful. So, Rabbi, I know that you're I don't want to say you're a politician because you said you don't like politics. You like politics, right? But
well, a tick is a bloodsucker. Therefore, politics is a lot of bloodsuckers. So I'm not crazy about politics, but I do believe in trying to use government constructively. And I want to say that I do agree with you and Pastor Keith that the two-state solution is the only viable option. In fact, Netanyahu said, don't think I'd be the last one to support a two-state solution. I'd be the first one to support it if there was another state that wanted to live in peace. But you cannot have a peaceful coexistence with a group like Hamas, which is not only a terrorist group, its charter specifically says that its goal is to destroy Israel and kill all the Jews.
So that's the point. That's the point I'm getting at. That's why we want to have world leaders come together, so
I agree with you.
So they can dismantle this sort of terrorism and this hardcore operation. And one thing before you continue, I've always supported the fact, and you have said that many times, that even though I know we have Pastor Keith here as a Christian, Dr. Grace as an interfaith leader, but from a Jewish perspective, Islam, from a Jewish perspective, is supposed to be the closest faith to Judaism. And it is really sad to see Muslims and Jews. Now, this is a Palestinian-Israel fight. We got to make this very clear. It's not Muslims and Jews fighting. And I want to let our audience know. I totally agree that it's a political Israel-Palestinian fight, whether it's a Hamas fight or whatever. But Jews and Muslims, no, because they're too close from their faith and their belief. So, that's why we want to find a way how we can get these two religions that are the closest in beliefs to not be enemies. How do we solve this problem? We already know the past. What is your suggestion to the peace solution?
There is a way, Shaikh Shafayat.
What you suggest?
And you're part of that solution because you help us to realize that Judaism and Christianity, Judaism and Islam not only are the closest religions, we lived in peace for centuries. And not only that, in Israel, Jews and Palestinians lived in peace for decades until the extremists went out. In the Muslim world, extremists killed off the peacemakers, like what happened to Sadat when he made peace with Israel. And I just want everyone to understand that when Israel was founded and there was a partition, Israel said, great, we welcome you with open arms. But its neighbors took up arms to destroy Israel. But what is the solution?
The solution.
I'd like to share with
and listen, Dr. Spencer and Dr. Grace, you can cut in here because we got 10 minutes again. So if you guys want to dip in, just feel free so we make it very conversational. All right, Rabbi, go ahead.
I'm going to try to make it very brief.
Yeah.
Because my solution not only ends the violence, it enters into an era of peace. And here it is. Israel should declare a Palestinian state tomorrow in the West Bank, as long as the West Bank Palestinians who live in relative peace with Israel acknowledge the Jews' right to a homeland in Israel. There could be a Palestinian state tomorrow. When that's done, Jerusalem would be shared as the eternal spiritual capital of the Jewish people in the Jewish section of Jerusalem today. And the Palestinian section, where Arabs presently live, would be the capital of the Palestinian state. And Jews and Arabs would do what you're saying.
And I suppose the Christians will have their side of the story too.
No. The Christians would be welcome in both.
Okay.
And have access to their holy places. But Jews, Christians, and Muslims would announce to the world, we've now established peace in Jerusalem, the city of peace. If we can do it, the Abrahamic faiths can do it. After years of fighting, everyone can do it. Let's show this as an example of international peace and harmony. Yerushalayim means the city of peace. Regarding Gaza, Hamas must be eradicated, but as you say, Shaikh Shafayat, it should be done by an international community of isolating and not coddling Hamas. And then once they are gone, then the people of Gaza would be liberated and free. Do you know what? Israel laments all the killing and all the dying in Gaza as much or more than anyone. Do you know who rejoices in all the death and carnage in Gaza? Hamas. They triggered it, they started it, they reveled in it, they profit by it, they love all the Palestinian dead because they use it to defame Israel and to derail the peace process that was going on between Israel and the Muslim Arab countries about to emerge with Saudi Arabia. They're the only ones rejoicing in the violence. I see a way out. Out of the darkness could come a great light. They say that c'est parfois au cours des heures plus sombres que naisse la plus belle lumière. It is perhaps at the darkest hour that emerges the greatest light.
So if the international world come by and they get the end of terrorism and Israel is all comfortable and Palestinians are comfortable, I think that's it, and that's what we need to mobilize the world to do. What do you all have to say about that, Dr. Keith, Dr. Grace?
Go ahead, Keith.
Well, I just wanted to point out that a couple of things. I think the idea of that, certainly that Rabbi Solar raises is an important one. I also would want to point out that the Palestinian people include both Palestinian Muslims and Palestinian Christians, and the Lutheran Church of Palestine and the Holy Land gives us frequent updates on what's going on in the Holy Land. So we have to be careful when we speak of the Palestinian people that we're talking about a people of multiple faiths.
I think that's a good point, because a lot of people out there in the world really don't know that. A lot of people probably don't hear it because we don't hear much about that in the media. And I feel you should reiterate that, Dr. Key, that there are a lot of Christians in the Palestinian side.
It's an important too, because I think what happens among political factions in this country is they paint all Palestinians as Muslims, and then they like to paint all Palestinian Muslims as terrorists. And what's emerging now in the news, politically here for certain presidential candidates talks about, not just a return, but a hyping of a return to a very horrible sense of trying to paint Muslim people as terrorists again. And that's probably a topic for a whole different show. But
I like that. I think we need to come back and talk about the 2024 election. That would be a hot topic, right?
Shaikh Shafayat, let's remember that in Israel itself, the Palestinian Arabs, Christians, and Muslims live in peace. they don't want to go anywhere else. They're not starting us. They like living in Israel. And in Israel, Christians, Muslims, Baha'i, and Jews all have their holy places there, and they're all respected.
And I think that those are the
Is
things.
that really? But
those are the things we
mean,
want to get in. Yes, Dr. Grace, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if that's always true all of the time. Just recently, Ramadan, there was a whole incident that happened at the mosque.
Because
if you
Hamas,
recall.
because Hamas
Well, whatever the
launched
but
attacks from
but
there.
here's the thing. Whatever the reason is, like we all have, we all have our facts and we all have the reasons. But right now there's a humanitarian crisis that is happening, and frankly, if we don't have the human decency to at least put a pause on this, so that folks, babies in incubators, are dying. I mean, we have to stop digging our heels into our identities at the cost of human dignity. It's just outrageous. And when you said earlier, Rabbi, that you were disappointed, I am extremely disappointed, because this is not what Allah, God, we call by many names, but we know is the one source of all that is this is not God's will. I know it isn't.
So Dr. Keith, you were making a point, and what were you saying there?
I was just appreciating, the lifting up of the gravity of the humanitarian crisis, and that it shouldn't be, in an area that's minuscule with millions of people. It's one of the most densely populated areas of the world. Gaza Strip is that to be able to allow, as Dr. Grace so put it out, the one of the, you ask where we start. I think we start by lifting up our shared humanity, as she so graciously put it. And I think for all of us trying to watch the situation unfold and feel that humanity at its core, we talk about our that there are millions of innocent people in Gaza that are being just stripped of their humanity, and the world is standing by. And look, everyone's lost children, and it's been horrific, and the stories that have come out of what the terrorist Hamas has done and continues to do are brutal. But we don't answer that by allowing Palestinian babies and children to die in such tragic ways. So that the place we start is by reclaiming our humanity. So I appreciate Dr. Grace's call to return to that shared humanity.
Well, I agree.
So we got Rabbi, we got only 1 minute again to conclude the show. Time just goes. Could you
I
mean?
just have to clarify something.
Yeah, we're gonna come to
that
you.
We need shared humanity, but there's only one group that cares about the humanity of these babies, and that is Israel. They've tried to get these babies out. Hamas puts their military in the hospitals. Hamas, the terrorist group, has no regard for human life or babies, and I will not stand by while Israel is slandered and defamed, when Israel is doing all it can to protect babies, and Hamas is doing all it can to slaughter them and to prevent them from leaving.
Okay, so Rabbi, we got it.
Sheikh,
yeah, go ahead.
This is the issue. So we cannot raise up humanity as an issue without being cautiously walking into being called anti-Semitic. This is not about slandering Israel. This is about, we are human, and we all need to help these people who are being slaughtered.
To
So-
blame
so the
Israel
point-
and not, to
Okay,
blame
so the-
Israel and not Hamas is anti-Semitic.
All right, so I want to come to a point here.
That's your opinion.
Yeah,
That's
the point
yours.
we're getting at here is that what I'm hearing from the conversation, we're talking about how do we get peace. To get peace, we gotta end the terrorism and the extremism. We gotta put an end to the war, and that's where we could start. If the war continues, we cannot start peace. We gotta get a halt. That's why we're talking about getting the entire world or mediators in between, and that's where the world government leaders should come in, put a halt on everything, and then start the peace. Because if this war continues and the killing and the fighting and it just will never. When will we start peace? Where will we start it? You know what I'm saying? We just won't be able. So, I mean, I agree with the idea that yes, we gotta end terrorism, and I don't only say with Hamas. It could be whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's Al Qaeda, whether it's terrorism from other religions and other countries and radicals. That does not help. But we have to find a neutral factor, put a middle part down here, and then start the process and how we get the peace. But you know what? This is such an interesting topic. This is such an interesting issue. It is a topic of today. I agree that we will have differences of opinion. I mean, everyone here, you are from different background, and to our viewers as we conclude the show, we are very fortunate to be talking to Dr. Keith Spencer on the show, who served on the Navy, Dr. Grace Telesco, who has been 20 years superintendent in New York, NYPD. She teaches criminology and justice at Nova University. We have Rabbi Barry Silva, former Florida State representative, a man of law, a man from the legal background. And of course, I understand he will have a soft point to Israel and what's going on. But here we're talking about, and that's why we have the interfaith discussion. That's why we have you as a Jew. We have Dr. Keith as a Christian. We have Dr. Grace as an interfaith person. I from the Islamic way. I think that's nice. We will have our soft points on our different perspective to the matter. But I think on the bigger picture, we all want peace, and we all need to get to that. Maybe we have another topic coming up in the future. I would love that. Some other angle. Let's see how things go. What do you think, Dr. Keith, Dr. Grace, Rabbi? Should we have another talk show in the future?
I'd love to put my peace proposal on your website so people can see it, and I'd love to work with you. I think you and I could help carve out the peace. And I just want to clear up something.
And I must let everybody know. I know
does not care about babies. All right,
they
do not care. They're terrorists. They don't care about babies. Israel does.
Shaikh
Okay,
Shafayat, on Sunday night, 6:30 at the Darshan Center, we're doing a call for peace in Gaza. That's a special service that we're going to be doing. Everyone is invited. Oakland Park Boulevard, Darshan Center, 6:30 Sunday.
Thank you very much. Anyone would like to say? I know we have gone beyond. We were supposed to end at 4 minutes ago. 4 minutes ago. I'll have to ask our editor to do some miracles in 1 minute. three of you, say some words of greetings, whatever. Each one got 30 seconds. Dr. Keith.
Well, again, Shaikh Shafayat, thank you for gathering us together and your interfaith leadership, and by your willingness to reach out to people of many different faiths, and for your utter respect for where people are coming from and trying to find common ground. As always, we here at Trinity, your neighbor down the street, give thanks for all that you and the people of Darul Uloom.
All right, Rabbi.
I have to agree with Dr. Spencer on this one. I thank you very much. You are a true interfaith leader. I think you have the capacity to work with me and the vast majority of Christians who support Israel. We can use this time to break through and establish peace. And I thank you for the opportunity to do that. And I hope we remember that Hamas is rejoicing and celebrating in all the death. Israel is weeping And Israel will continue to respect Palestinian rights and hopefully have a two-state solution once we can get terrorism.
Inshallah, as we say, God willing. Dr. Grace.
Inshallah.
So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a peacemaker. The Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, said one of his last words to his disciples was that they may be one.
I mean, amen. So thank you all very much. It's a pleasure. You guys feel free to email or text me, the office, me, whatever. Let us know if there's any topic you want to discuss as things unfold in the world. We can always put down the 2024 election if things go crooked off that side, how we as an interfaith leaders can voice of opinion to the world to be more straight and sober-minded on the matter, or even on this Middle East crisis. If there is any issue directly you all want to discuss, please feel free letting me know. And thank you all very much. God bless for coming on the show. Thank you. And to our viewers out there, thank you for viewing, and always stay tuned to Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Until then, peace be upon you. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Get everything you need at Fenn's Agri Center and Hardware Superstore, located at 243 Southern Main Road, Marabella. We carry a wide selection of hardware and agri products. Visit us in-store or call 650-3367.
Alhikmat Services Florida USA invites you to join our tour from Miami to Turkey to Medina and Mecca, plus Ramadan, which is equivalent to the blessings of Hajj. They will be visiting historical sites of the Ottoman Empire, plus the Blue Mosque, Hagia Sophia, Topkapi Palace, plus more sacred sites. Breakfast and dinner will be included, but not the cost of visas. It will be from March 2nd, 2024 to March 13th, 2024, and led by Shaikh Shafayat. The price is yet to be announced, but for more information, you can contact Alhikmat office at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158. You can also email at alhikmat@alhikmat.com. Casa Nouveau Investments in Guyana. Sharia Bacchus, CEO of Casa Nouveau Investments. Brokering of sales and rentals, commercial properties, industrial properties, residential properties, and land. Property management, property development, interior design, and real estate investment consultancy. For more information, please call at 954-326-9537 or 592-643-5948. You can also email at shariabacchus3@gmail.com. Dawah and Interfaith Institute presents for the first time in U.S.A. Dawah and Interfaith training with education in world religions from religious professors and spiritual leaders of different faiths. This is a 6-month weekend course designed for brothers and sisters local, national, and international who are seeking to learn the importance of Dawah and better understanding of faith and cultures. For more information, please contact 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158. You can also contact via email at alhikmat@alhikmat.com or visit our website www.alhikmat.com. Linda M. Kaplan, PA, an immigration law firm. Over 40 years of legal services in immigration and naturalization matters. Contact her at 305-670-7665. Once again, 305-670-7665, or email her at lk@lindakaplan.com or visit her website lindakaplan.com. You can also contact for more details the Alhikmat office at 954-986-0158 or 1-800-804-0267. You can also reach out to them via email at alhikmat@alhikmat.com, the website www.alhikmat.com, and visit the Alhikmat TV www.alhikmattv.com. Alhamdulillah, for free copies of the Holy Quran, contact Alhikmat Caribbean office at 1-868-325-8276. You can also follow us on Alhikmat TV, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc. For more information, you can also contact Alhikmat's Florida USA office. You can visit our website at www.alhikmat.com or call us at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158.
Allah, ya